Good day, everyone. Welcome back to Math 10C. We're looking today at part 2 of section 2.2, dealing with surface area. And this can be found on page 17 of your unit handout. What's going to be different today is yesterday we solved problems where you were given all of the dimensions of the objects and asked to determine the surface area. What's going to be different now is you're going to be solving problems where you know the surface area and have to work backwards to find some missing dimension. So we're going to start off with a rectangular prism problem. And you'll notice that you are given the width of this, which is 9 centimeters. You're given the height of this, but you do not know the length of this. That's what the problem is going to be about, is what is the length of this box? And unfortunately, we can't solve it in a broken down way like we did last time. We have to set up a single formula in order to solve this. But it's not a difficult job. Yesterday we learned that when you have a rectangular prism that has a length, width, and a height, you can take the length times the width, which will be the area of, say, the right-hand side of the box, and double it. And that will give you the area of the left and the right-hand side. And you can take the width times the height, which might give you the area of the front of the box, and double it to get the area of the front and the back of the box. And then you have to take the length times the height, which might give you the area of the top of the box, and double it. If you go back and look at yesterday's example number 1 in the previous lesson, I believe it was 6 by 8 by 9. And what we did is we took 8 times 9 and doubled it, we took 6 times 9 and doubled it, and we took 6 times 8 and doubled it. So here's a general formula that we can use to find the surface area. Now what I'm about to teach you, and this is going to be a process that happens over lessons and lessons and years, is how to get better and better at solving equations. In this equation, we do not know L, but we know the height and we know the width. We also know the surface area. Your first step in using any equation in high school math or science is to put in all the numbers into the equation that you have. So we can put 560 here because that's the surface area. Then we have the number 2. Now we don't know the length. That's unknown. That's what we are asked to find. So we're just going to leave it as L, and then we can put in the width, which is 9, and we continue 2 times the width, which is 9, times the height, which is 8, 2 times the length, which we don't know, times the height, which is 8. So I just want to point out what we've done. We put 560 in for A. Every place there was a W, we put the number 9. Every place there was an H, we put the number 8. And that means that wherever there was an L, we just left it as an L because we didn't know what L is. We don't know what L is yet. Now, that's your first step. Put in everything you know. So that's the substitution. The second step, and this is crucial, your second step is to simplify. What do I mean by that? Well, we have 560, and then I have, just in that next part, I have 2 multiplied by L multiplied by 9. Well, when you multiply things together, the order doesn't matter, so I could think of this as 2 times 9 times L, but 2 times 9 is 18. Well, 18L is a lot simpler than writing 2 times L times 9. So we've simplified that. Can we write something simpler for 2 times 9 times 8? Well, yes, we can take our calculator and go 2 times 9 times 8. And you should be following along and doing this. I believe you're going to be getting 144. Can we write something simpler than 2 times L times 8? Well, yes, because 2 times L times 8 is the same thing as 2 times 8 times L, and 2 times 8 is 16, so we get 16L. And now, to be honest, we are at a stage with this equation that it is a junior high equation to solve. It's a two-step, what we call a two-step linear equation. I can take, we'll do this in small steps here, I can take the 18L and the 16L and add them together. 18L plus 16L is no different than 18 kittens plus 16 kittens. This is what we call in high school math similar terms. I can add L's and L's, and 18 kittens plus 16 kittens gives me 34 kittens. 18L plus 16L gives me 34L. And now this equation is ready to be rearranged. Your first step is to subtract 144 from both sides. It's grade 8/9 math we're doing right now. And what happens on the right-hand side of the equation is 144 minus 144 is 0. So all we're left with is 34L equals, and we have to figure out what 560 minus 144 is. And I want to say 416, but I'd better double check. $416. Your next step then, since you're multiplying, see up here, right here, everybody, we were adding 144 to the 34L. So to get rid of it, we do the opposite of adding 144, which is to subtract 144. Right here, we are multiplying 34 by L. That's what this means, 34 times L. So the opposite is to divide by 34. And what happens on the right-hand side is these 34s cancel, leaving you with the number 1 times L, which is L. And on the other side, what do we have? Well, we have whatever 416 divided by 34 is. Approximately 12.235. And let's round it. I don't know if it says, it doesn't say, but let's round it to the nearest tenth. I'm going to say it's 12.2, and I think it was centimeters. And I'm going to convince you now that that number is correct. So I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to put up here in our diagram where L is. I'm going to put A for our answer. And if you follow along on my calculator, there's a button here I want to introduce you to. It's right above the on key, and it says STO, which means store. I'm going to just hit that key, and it says answer, and it has an arrow pointing to the right. And I'm going to hit my alpha key and then choose A. And all I'm doing here, don't worry too much about it, is I've stored that answer in my calculator in the place where A is. So anytime I want now, if I call up A, There it is. So how would I find my surface area? Well, I'm just going to go back up to my initial formula. And I'm going to calculate everything with my answer in place of L. So I'm going to take 2 times L, which is my answer, times the width, which was 9, plus 2 times my width, which is 9, times my height, which is 8, plus 2 times the length, which is my answer, which is A, times my height, which is 8. So I've taken 2 times the length times the width, plus 2 times the width times the height, plus 2 times the length times the height. And I get exactly 560. All right, let's move on. A sphere has a surface area of 400 square inches. What is the radius of the sphere? So what are our steps? I'm trying to teach you how to use formulas. It's got nothing directly to do with surface area other than the fact that we're using those formulas. Your first step is to write the formula down that contains the information used in the question. Bottom line here is this is a question about the surface area of a sphere, so you find the formula for the surface area of the sphere. Now this 400 is the area. The radius is what we don't know. So the bottom line is you put 400 in for A, and you solve this for R. Now we have to, that's your first step. You put the numbers in. Your second step is simplified. You want to simplify. Always your second step is simplifying. So we're going to simplify 4 times pi. We get 400 equals 4 times pi. Let's figure out what that is. And we're going to do it on our calculator by just going 4 times pi. And it's this number. It's about 12.566. 12.566. Now we want to get R by itself. Well, what's happening here, and I'm going to rewrite this. I don't even want the brackets. 12.566 R squared. What's happening is we want to get R by itself, but it is being multiplied by 12.566. So how do we get rid of that? We do the opposite. We divide both sides by 12.566. And what's going to happen on the right side is these will cancel, and I'll be left with R squared. So R squared will be equal to 400 over 12.566. And if you do not have a calculator where you can say 400 divided by the answer or 400 divided by the exact value, then you have to write down the decimals. Now I'll show you a couple of workarounds here in a second, but I'm just going to go divided by, scroll up and grab that, and this is what it's equal to, 31.83. Now that is not R, that is R squared. In order to get R by itself, you have to do the opposite of squaring, which is to square root. So R will be equal to the square root of 31.83. So we just go square root of the answer, and we get 5.64 roughly. R equals approximately 5.64 units. I don't know what it was, inches, centimeters? I guess it's inches. Approximately 5.64 inches. Now let me prove to you that that's correct. If that's the radius, then if I take, looking at my formula, there's my formula at the top of the screen. If I take 4 times pi, fix this first. If I take 4 times pi times my answer squared, well, I don't get exactly 400. My calculator is a little glitchy, but I get 400 square units. Now, you could have, and I'm slowly going to introduce you to this idea, because eventually in, say, Math 20-1 or 20-2, you're going to need to know how to do this. If I take this formula of A equals 4 pi r squared, I can divide by 4 pi. These cancel, and I'm left with r squared equals A over 4 pi, which means r equals the square root of A over 4 pi. And you can enter this into your calculator in fewer steps. You can take the area, which is 400, divided by, in brackets, 4 pi. You need those brackets. Hit equals, and then take the square root of the answer. If you want to be really fancy, you can go square root of 400 divided by bracket 4 pi. I don't frankly care how you use your calculator. I care that you use your calculator to get the right answer of 5.64 inches. Number 3, the surface area of a 5-pin bowling ball varies from about, so this is an area, from about 459.96 square centimeters to 506.71 square centimeters. And then it says, what's the variation in the diameter? Well, I've already explained to you how to find radius from surface area for a sphere. You use the formula A equals 4 pi r squared. You put in the surface area. I'm going to do that over here as well. 506.71 equals 4 pi r squared. You have to divide this 459, you have to divide this blue thing by this green thing to get r squared by itself. You have to divide this by this to get r by itself. What I'm doing here is I want to calculate the radius of the smallest surface area and the radius of the largest, so I could use that to find the diameters. How you do this blue divided by green is up to you. You can take 4 times pi. Now take that 459.96 and divide by the answer and get this number. This is r squared. You could have arrived at that by taking 459.96, keep forgetting to turn that off, 459.96 and dividing by, in brackets, 4 pi. Doesn't matter. On the other side of the screen, I'm going to take 506.71, divide by, in brackets, 4 pi. So this is what r squared is for the larger. And the reason why there's a variation in the surface areas is because all of the balls are a little bit different. I don't know, maybe because some of them are older, they've worn out more, and they're a little bit smaller. Now, in order for me to find the radius, I have to take the square root. So I'm going to take the square root. I'm going to take the square root of that 36.6 and get approximately 6.05. That's centimeters? It's got to be centimeters. Can't be inches. No, it's centimeters. And for the other one, I'm going to take the square root of the 40.3 something and get 6.35 centimeters. And don't forget, this is R. We were actually asked for the variation in the diameter. So the diameter is 2 times the radius. So the diameter will be 12.10 centimeters for this one. And the diameter, I'm just doubling the radius, will be 12.70 centimeters for this one. So there's your variation from 12.1 centimeters to 12.7 centimeters. One example left. Remember, you put all of the numbers into a formula and simplify before you do anything else. So we have a cylinder, and you're given the surface area of the cylinder. So we go hunting on our formula sheet for the surface area of a cylinder formula, and it is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. What do we know? We know the radius is 6, the area is 560, this is feet, this is square feet, and you were asked to find the height. So this is the prize. These questions can be very difficult if you don't follow the steps. First step, there's your formula. Second step, put the numbers in. 560 equals 2 times pi times 6 squared plus 2 times pi times 6 times h. Every place I saw an r, guess I should use a different color. Every place I saw an R, I put the number 6 because that's what R is. Every place I saw the A, I put 560 because that's what the surface area is. Wherever I saw an H, I left it as H because that's what we're trying to find. So you put in all the numbers. Now you simplify. You simplify. 560. This is just a number. Don't be confused by the fact that it says 2 times pi times 6 squared. Figure out what the number is. 2 times pi . Try that again. 2 times pi times 6 squared equals 226.19467. Now, I'm not really concerned here, everybody, with your ability to carry all your decimals. That will come later. That's procedural. That's not math. That's how to use your calculator. So don't worry if you don't write all the decimals. Then what do we have? We have this part, 2 times pi times 6, which is just a number. Let's figure out what it is. 2 times pi times 6, 37.699. Times h. So this type of equation here, everybody, I've referred to it already today as a two-step equation. For you to get h by itself, you have to subtract the 226 first and then divide by the 37.69. So we start by subtracting from both sides 226.19467 and what we will get is 37.699H equals some number. Now, for some reason, I don't know if my calculator can do this. I want to take the 560, oh, sure I can. 560 minus, on my calculator, I just have to scroll up to that 226.19467. This is now what 37.699H is equal to. $333.8. And now I have to take that number that is on my calculator right now and divide by that 37.699. So this is what I am doing. I'm dividing by the 37.699. So I can just go divided by and scroll up and grab this, and I get 8.85 feet. That's my H. Let's check it out. You don't have to check every time, but I'm going to go back up to this line right here. And where this H is, I'm going to put in my answer and see if I get 560. Here we go. 2 times pi times 6 squared. So I'm entering in everything in that equation that my arrow is pointing to see if I get 560. Times 6 squared plus 2 times pi times 6 times my answer of H. And I get exactly 560. I kind of alluded to this already. This is about surface area. Yes, that's true. But the underlying motivation here for why I'm teaching you this is so that you can understand when you're using an equation to find an unknown, you write the equation down. You put in all of the numbers you know, and rearranging it doesn't happen until you simplify everything first. If I go back and just take a quick peek at number 1, we put the numbers in here, but we simplified it to get something that we can work with. And we simplified it even more to get something we could work with. In number 2, we put the numbers in here, and we simplified it, and we simplified it. Number 3, we put the numbers in, and we simplified it. Well, we did this simplification on our calculator. Number 4, put everything in, and then we simplified it to get this. Then you can rearrange it. You're going to need practice with this. Don't get too frustrated. It's normal to move slowly at first with this stuff. But we're starting to now creep into high school math. We're not just talking about converting inches and centimeters and stuff anymore. We're talking about using formulas properly. So on page 74, question 3 and 4 is the practice problem set for this lesson. I hope I see you soon in school. Take care.